"You've grown," it said, calm and almost amused. "I wondered when you would come. I came to kill you," he said. "They always say that. Do you even know why you survived me, ragazzo? Do you understand what you are?" "Impressive," he breathed. "You fight like you still think you can be saved. I don't need saving." "You are not ready," Alessandro said softly, "but you could be. You don't even know what you have become, a creature the world has no name for. You should be dead, yet you endure. That is power, Luca, and I can make it whole. I'll never be your creation." "No," he said, "you already are." "I should end you," he murmured, kneeling beside him, "but I think I'd rather see what you become when you finally stop pretending you're still human."
Rome at night holds secrets most dare not whisper, and some will kill to keep hidden. One boy, bitten by a creature older than the city itself, should have died, but a hunter intervened, a fight erupted, and a curse began to take root. What happens when power fights against the soul? Tonight, you're about to witness the terrifying journey of Luca, a boy caught between human and monster. Will he survive the thirst, the hunters, and the darkness within? Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button, like if you love dark stories, and drop a comment predicting whether Luca will survive this curse. Your thoughts might just appear in the next video.
The night air in Rome was thick with rain, turning cobblestones into mirrors that reflected the blurred lights of passing cars. Somewhere beyond the rhythm of the city, a scream tore through the quiet, a sound raw and wet, echoing through the narrow street near Trastevere. Luca stumbled into the open, one hand pressed to his neck, his breath hitching in terror. Behind him, shadows moved, too fast, too fluid to belong to anything human. Dario watched from a rooftop, crossbow drawn, eyes like cold iron. He had been tracking the vampire for nights now, Alessandro, an ancient creature rumored to walk among Rome's elite by day and hunt by night. He saw the boy collapse under the vampire's weight, saw the gleam of fangs in the dim light, and knew he was seconds too late. The arrow left his bow with a whisper. The shot struck true, slicing across Alessandro's shoulder. The vampire snarled, his eyes a cruel silver. "Hunter," he hissed, the word thick with disdain. He rose to his full height, his hand still slick with Luca's blood. "You dare interrupt what's mine?" Dario didn't answer. He dropped from the rooftop, landing in the puddles with the grace of someone who had done this too many times before. His coat flared as he drew his blade, the steel etched with runes that shimmered faintly blue. "Let him go, Alessandro," he said evenly. "He's not yours to take." The vampire laughed, a low, melodic sound that carried an ancient arrogance. "Everything in this city belongs to me, Hunter, even him." He lunged. The alley blurred with movement, metal against flesh, the hiss of rain on burning blood. Luca could only watch through the haze of pain, his vision flickering between the two figures, one mortal, one eternal, both monsters in their own right. Dario thought like a man who had already accepted death, his blade carving light through the shadows. Alessandro's strength was overwhelming, his speed unnatural, but the hunter's precision matched it in kind. They were equals for a heartbeat. Then Dario found his moment. A flash of silver light cut through the vampire's chest, forcing him backward into the dark. The vampire's form disintegrated into mist, his voice echoing through the alley. "You can't save him, Dario. The bite is done. His blood is mine now." The last of his presence vanished with the rain, leaving only the sound of Luca's labored breathing. Dario knelt beside him. The boy's skin was cold, his pulse faint. The wound on his neck was already darkening, spreading like ink under the skin. "Damn it," Dario whispered, pressing his hand to Luca's throat. He wrapped his jacket around the boy and lifted him effortlessly. "Hold on, kid. You're not dying tonight. Not yet." As Dario disappeared into the labyrinth of back streets with Luca in his arms, the rain washed away the traces of battle. Above, the full moon broke through the clouds, casting a pale light over the alley.
Luca awoke to darkness, not the gentle kind that follows sleep, but the suffocating sort that hums beneath the skin. The air smelled faintly of iron and old wood. He blinked until shapes began to form, cracked plaster, candlelight flickering against stone walls, and a faint draft carrying the scent of rain. His head throbbed like it had been split open. The moment he tried to move, pain stabbed through his neck. Across the room, Dario sat by a wooden table, cleaning his blade. The sound of metal against cloth filled the silence. He didn't look up, only said, "You're awake." His voice carried that rough edge, a hunter's fatigue layered beneath control. Luca tried to speak, but his throat felt dry, too dry. "Where am I?" Luca's voice came out cracked, strange, like it didn't belong to him. Dario glanced up then, eyes narrowing as he studied the boy. "Safe, for now. You were lucky I got there when I did." He rose and walked over, handing him a cup of water. Drank slowly. He lost a lot of blood. Luca hesitated, then brought the cup to his lips. The water was cold, almost tasteless, but as it slid down his throat, the dryness didn't fade. His thirst grew sharper, rawer, as though the water only fed the fire burning inside him. He coughed, gasping, his body trembling. "It's not helping," he muttered, staring at his shaking hands. Dario frowned. "What's your name?" "Luca," he whispered. "Well, Luca," Dario said carefully, "you were bitten by a vampire. You're changing, I think, or I guess." His voice held a trace of uncertainty, like he wasn't sure if what he said made sense even to himself. "Whatever's happening, you need to fight it. If you give in now, you'll lose yourself." Luca pressed his palms against his skull, shaking his head. "I can feel it. It's like something's alive inside of me." His voice cracked as he spoke, his pupils dilating, his senses exploding with clarity. He could hear the heartbeat in Dario's chest, slow but strong, tempting. His vision sharpened until every detail in the candlelight was painfully vivid. Dario drew a silver dagger and pressed it gently to Luca's throat. Not to threaten, but to remind. He said, "Focus on my voice. That thirst, that hunger, it's not who you are. It's the venom trying to take control. You fight it, or it wins." The fight lasted days. Luca barely slept, pacing the small room while Dario watched over him like a silent sentinel. He drank water until he was sick of it, but the thirst never faded. His body shivered through nights of pain, veins burning, jaw aching for something he refused to name. Dario spoke little, only enough to keep him anchored, only enough to stop him from breaking. By the end of the week, the fire dulled, but it never died. It sat beneath his skin, quiet but waiting, whispering in the rhythm of his pulse. Dario saw it in his eyes, the faint gleam of hunger that no amount of will could erase. "You held it back," Dario said finally, his tone soft but grave. "That's something most can't do. But don't mistake it for victory." Luca leaned against the wall, exhausted but alive, his voice barely a whisper. "What happens now?" Dario looked at the window where the rain still fell over the sleeping city. Now, we see if you can live with what's inside you. And if you can, I'll take you somewhere that might give you a chance. His gaze returned to the boy, and for the first time, there was something almost like hope in his eyes. Outside, the storm deepened, washing Rome clean, while something darker took root within Luca, a thirst buried beneath defiance, a curse that would never truly fade.
The rain had thinned to a soft drizzle by the time Dario guided the black car through the winding streets of Rome's outskirts. Dawn pressed faint light over the horizon, washing the city in a ghostly gray. Lucas sat in the passenger seat, pale and quiet, eyes half open. The thirst still murmured inside him, a constant whisper beneath his heartbeat. He learned to ignore it, mostly. But sometimes when the scent of passing pedestrians reached him through the open window, his jaw clenched on instinct. They left the city behind, the road narrowing into forest. The air grew colder. Dario's eyes stayed fixed on the road ahead, saying nothing until they reached a narrow tunnel entrance cut into the rock. It looked abandoned, hidden by ivy and rusted fencing. He killed the engine and glanced at Luca. "This is where we train, where people like me make sure monsters don't own this city." Luca looked at him, voice hoarse. "And what does that make me?" Dario paused before opening his door. "That's what we're here to find out." Inside, the tunnel spiraled downward into dim light. Torches burned along the walls. Real flames, not electric bulbs. The air smelled of oil and metal, and beneath it all, a faint trace of blood. Dario walked ahead, boots echoing off stone, while Luca followed in silence, his senses sharpening with each step. Every heartbeat, every breath, every sound was clearer than before. The tunnel opened into a vast underground hall, concrete mixed with old stone forming a labyrinth of corridors and chambers. Hunters moved like shadows, men and women in dark coats, weapons strapped across their backs, faces lined with exhaustion and purpose. When they saw Dario, some nodded. When they saw Luca, their eyes narrowed. A tall woman with cropped black hair stepped forward, her gaze sharp. "Another recruit?" she asked. Her voice carried a faint accent from the north. "Something like that," Dario replied. "He's been bitten, but he's still himself. For now." Her expression hardened. "You brought one of them here?" Luca stiffened, feeling the weight of every stare. The scent of so many human hearts around him made his throat ache. He forced his hands into fists, nails digging into his palms to keep control. Dario's voice cut through the tension. "He's not a threat. I'll take responsibility for him." The woman studied Luca for a moment longer before giving a reluctant nod. "Then he's yours to deal with. But if he loses control, Dario..." "I know," he said quietly. Dario led Luca through another corridor into a smaller chamber, a training hall lit by a single overhead lamp. Weapons lined the walls, crossbows, blades, guns, vials of shimmering liquid. Luca's eyes drifted over them, then to the cracked floor covered in faded bloodstains. "This is where you'll learn to fight," Dario said, tossing him a wooden staff. "You'll need it. Those instincts in you, they'll eat you alive unless you give them direction. Training helps." Luca caught the staff, surprised by how natural it felt in his grip. "I've never fought before." Dario smirked faintly. "Then you'll learn fast. You don't have a choice." The next few days blurred into one long trial. Dario trained him without mercy. Hand-to-hand combat, weapons drills, balance, and endurance. Luca's body adapted quickly, unnaturally so. His strength multiplied. His reflexes sharpened until he could parry Dario's strikes with impossible speed. But it wasn't all control. At times, the thirst surged during combat, clouding his judgment, turning defense into wild aggression. After a sparring session that ended with Luca's staff snapping in half, Dario threw down his blade. "Good," he said, breathing hard. "You're faster now, but you still let the hunger steer you. You need to master it, not feed it." Luca wiped blood from his lip, chest heaving. "How do you control something that's part of you?" Dario hesitated, his expression unreadable. "You don't. You learn to live with it." He looked down at the broken staff between them. "Some monsters can't be killed. You just make sure they serve you instead of the other way around."
As Dario left the room, Luca stood alone beneath the harsh light, his heartbeat echoing through the silence. He could feel it again, the strength, the power humming in his blood, bound by a hunger that refused to die. And for the first time, he wondered if being saved was truly salvation, or just another form of the curse.
Morning never reached the hideout, only the hum of fluorescent light and the echo of distant footsteps. Luca woke every day to the same metallic air, the same cold stone ceiling, the same gnawing whisper inside his chest. A week of training had left his body stronger than he'd ever imagined, but the hunger still stirred beneath every breath. It waited, patient and silent, like a shadow that knew it would never die. Dario's voice broke the silence. Up. He tossed a wooden practice sword toward Luca, who caught it with reflexes quicker than thought. Today, we test what you've become. What I've become? Luca asked, his tone rough. You make it sound like I'm not human anymore. Dario's jaw tightened. You're not. Not completely, but that doesn't mean you can't still choose what side you fight on. He motioned toward the center of the room, where a reinforced platform waited. Let's see what that venom left behind. They began as they always did, with a spar. Dario's strikes came hard and fast, a blur of motion honed by years of hunting. But Luca moved like liquid shadow, his body responding before his mind could. When their blades met, sparks flew. Dario stepped back, sweat beading on his forehead. You're faster than before. Luca frowned. I don't feel faster. His eyes caught the light, silver, faint but unmistakable. Dario's expression shifted, something wary flickering beneath his usual composure. Again, he said. This time Luca's blade didn't just block, it shattered Dario's parry with sheer force. The impact sent Dario sliding backward. The air pulsed with energy, a vibration that hummed through the floor. Luca froze, the sword trembling in his hand. What was that? You tell me, Dario replied. His voice carried a trace of awe now, mixed with unease. No vampire should be this strong this early, and you don't even burn under the UV lamps. Luca blinked at the harsh lights above. They stung, but they didn't sear. He raised his hand, half expecting to see smoke. Nothing. His skin was pale but unbroken. I thought light kills them, he said quietly. It does, which means you're not like them, not completely. They spent hours testing him. Dario handed him a vial of blessed water. Luca's skin stayed smooth. Silver, no burn. A crucifix, no reaction. Yet when he closed his eyes, he could hear heartbeats in the next corridor, count every one like a melody of life calling to him. His body belonged to darkness, but the weakness of it, none. By the third day of tests, word had spread through the hideout. Hunters whispered as Luca passed, some with fear, some with curiosity. A boy bitten by a vampire who lived, who didn't thirst for human blood, who could stand under light without smoke. They called him mezzo sangue, half-blood, a miracle or a mistake depending on who you asked. That night, after another round of sparring, Dario found Luca staring into a cracked mirror in his quarters. His reflection was there, faint but clear. Still human enough to see yourself, Dario said from the doorway. Barely, Luca muttered. His gaze lingered on the faint silver in his eyes. If I'm not like them and not like you, then what the hell am I? Dario crossed his arms. That's what we'll find out. But whatever this is, it's power. And power comes with a cost. You've got to decide now, Luca. Use it to fight what made you, or let it turn you into the thing it came from. Luca turned from the mirror, his expression hardening. Then teach me how to use it. All of it. Dario nodded slowly. Tomorrow, we start with the real work. As he left, Luca looked once more at his reflection. The faint silver in his eyes shimmered like moonlight on water. For the first time since the bite, he felt something stirring inside that wasn't fear or hunger. It was purpose. Dangerous, uncertain, but alive. The Vatican's oldest vault wasn't on any map. Beneath centuries of brick and stone, hidden beneath layers of forgotten catacombs, it breathed with the weight of secrets that had shaped empires and erased bloodlines. Dario had been here only twice before, and both times he'd sworn never to return. Luca followed him down the narrow stairwell, his boots scraping against ancient stone. The deeper they went, the colder it became. The walls bore carvings so old their meanings were lost to time, symbols of wings, serpents, and eyes that watched even in shadow. "Where are we?" Luca asked quietly. "The Order's true heart," Dario said. "This is where knowledge about the cursed and the divine is kept, and where we'll find answers about what you are." They reached a heavy iron door sealed with runes that pulsed faintly red. Dario pressed his palm against the lock. It hissed, unlocking with a low groan. The room beyond was vast, filled with glass cases in candlelight. Scrolls, relics, and bones were arranged with meticulous reverence. A man stood at the center, a scholar in a dark cassock, his thin hands folded behind his back. "Dario," he said, voice low and measured, "you bring strange company." His eyes turned to Luca, studying him with the cool precision of a surgeon. "I can smell it on him, the venom." "This is Father Vittorio," Dario said. "He's part of the Order's research branch." "Research," Vittorio murmured, circling Luca slowly. "A polite word for understanding what we fear most." He stopped before the boy, his gaze sharp as glass. "When were you bitten?" "2 weeks ago," Luca answered. "And you still breathe," Vittorio said. "Interesting." He took a small silver needle and pricked Luca's fingertip before he could react. A single drop of blood rolled down. It shimmered faintly in the candlelight, red but edged with silver. "Ah," Vittorio whispered. "It's changing him, but not consuming him." "What does that mean?" Dario asked, his voice tight. Vittorio moved to a nearby desk, placing the blood sample into a vial of holy water. The liquid hissed briefly, then went still. "Impossible," he murmured. "The venom remains active, yet stable. Usually, one either transforms or dies. This one resists both." He turned to face them fully. "What I'm seeing is true. His body rejected the corruption without rejecting the power. The venom integrated, but did not claim him." Luca frowned. "You're saying I'm what? Cured?" Vittorio shook his head slowly. "No, boy. You are a paradox, a living contradiction. You should not exist." The silence that followed was heavy. Daria's jaw flexed as he tried to understand. Could it happen again? Could we make others like him? Vittorio's eyes darkened. No. What happened to him cannot be replicated. The venom kills any human who resists it. If he survived without feeding, he should have died within hours. The fact that he lives means something beyond science touched him. He looked at Luca with something like fear. Call it a miracle if you must, but miracles have their price. Luca's chest tightened. So I'm what? A mistake blessed by chance? Or cursed by purpose, Vittorio said quietly. Sometimes the line between the two is only measured in blood. Dario stepped closer to Luca, his expression unreadable. We needed answers, now we have them. At least enough to know what we're dealing with. He looked at the priest. Keep this between us, the rest of the order doesn't need to know what he is yet. Vittorio inclined his head, though his gaze lingered on Luca as they turned to leave. Be careful, Hunter. If the old prophecies are true, the ones who walk between light and shadow draw both their wrath. Heaven and hell alike do not tolerate balance. As they climbed along stairwell back towards the surface, Luca spoke quietly. You believe him? Daria's answer came after a pause. I believe that every miracle in this world starts as a curse, and I think yours hasn't finished revealing itself. Outside, the night had fallen again over Rome. The air smelled of rain and stone, and in the reflection of a passing streetlight, Luca caught a glimpse of his eyes, still human, but colder, gleaming faintly silver under the glow. The hunter's sanctuary lay silent beneath Rome, its walls humming faintly with the pulse of hidden wards. Torches flickered along arched corridors where ancient Latin prayers were carved into the stone. Dario led Luca deeper than he had ever taken anyone before, past the training halls, past the vaults, into the wing few hunters dared enter, the Hall of Concordia. Luca followed close, his boots echoing softly. The air grew colder with every step, charged with something that made the hair on his arms rise. "Where are we going this time?" he asked, voice low. "To the Order's Magi. They'll confirm what Father Vittorio said. I need to know if what's inside you is stable." "Stable," Luca echoed with a faint laugh that didn't reach his eyes. "You make me sound like a bomb." "You might be," Dario said simply. They entered a domed chamber lined with sigils that shimmered faintly gold. 3 figures stood in a circle at its center, robed in dark gray. Their faces were half covered by metallic masks edged with runes. Between them hovered a crystalline orb, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. One of them turned. Her voice carried the weight of command. "Hunter Dario," she said, "we were told you sought our counsel." "I need an analysis," Dario said, motioning to Luca. "He was bitten but never turned. He's alive, and he's changing." The masked magus tilted her head slightly. "Step forward, boy." Luca obeyed, though unease rippled through him. The orb brightened as he approached. The magus lifted her hand, murmuring a string of words that vibrated in the air. Light enveloped him, soft at first, then searing. Luca clenched his jaw, his veins flaring silver beneath the skin. The chamber filled with the faint sound of whispers. "His essence is divided," one of the mages said, his tone clinical. "Part mortal, part corrupted. But the corruption does not spread. It binds." "Impossible," said another. "The venom should have consumed him. For it to settle, it must have fused with something already within." "What do you mean?" Dario asked, stepping forward. The female magus lowered her hand. The light dimmed, and Lucas staggered, catching himself on the railing. "He carries no weakness," she said. "No aversion to sunlight. No burn from silver or sanctified ground. And yet, his blood sings with power. It is not vampire venom alone that lives in him. Something else is at work. Something older." Dario frowned. "Older than vampirism?" The magus nodded slowly. "Perhaps divine. Perhaps cursed. There are legends, fragments from the earliest archives of mortals whose souls resisted transformation through sheer force of will. Their blood became a bridge, not a vessel." She turned her masked face toward Luca. If he truly survived without feeding, he should have perished. The venom feeds on hunger. To deny it and live means he defied death itself. Luca's breath caught. "So what does that make me?" "A paradox," the magus said. "Neither damned nor saved. You are balance, something this world was not meant to contain." Silence hung heavy after her words. The orb dimmed until only its faint pulse remained. Dario's eyes stayed on Luca. He had seen many things in his years of hunting, but never this. Never a living defiance of the natural order. Another magus spoke, voice trembling with reverence and fear. "If he exists, the balance will tremble. The old powers will take notice. The vampire who bit him may already feel it." Dario's eyes darkened. "Alessandro." The name rolled through the chamber like a shadow. The female magus nodded. "If that creature still walks the earth, he will come for what he began. You must prepare, Hunter. Your ward carries more than power. It carries disruption." Lucas stared at his hands, pale under the flickering light. He could feel the pulse of that strange energy beneath his skin, the constant whisper of something, neither light nor dark. "If he comes," Lucas said quietly, "I'll be ready."
The magus turned toward Dario. You may think you can train him, but understand this. Power that defies nature has a will of its own. It will test him and you. And if he fails to master it, you will have to destroy him. Dario didn't answer. His silence was its own confession. As they left the chamber, the heavy door closed behind them with a thundering finality. The air outside felt lighter, but only barely. Luca walked beside Dario in silence, the echo of the Magus's words clinging to him like a chill that wouldn't fade. "Do you believe them?" Luca asked. Dario's reply came low, almost a whisper. "I believe we've stepped into something older than our understanding, and I believe you're at the center of it." Luca looked up at him, silver still flickering faintly in his eyes. "Then I'll learn to control it, whatever it takes." Dario gave a grim nod. "Good. You'll need that resolute, because the next time we face what bit you, control might be all that keeps you alive."
The moon hung low over Rome, swollen and red, bleeding light across the ruins of an abandoned monastery. Its stones whispered with age and death. Dario moved like a shadow, silent and alert, his weapon gripped in both hands. Behind him, Luca followed, his senses alive with the hum of movement beyond sight. The Order had traced the nest here, over 60 vampires feeding on vagrants and travelers who strayed too close to the river's edge. The hunt was supposed to be routine, enter, purge, burn, but nothing about the night felt routine. Dario signaled his team forward, 5 hunters besides Luca, all armed with rifles laced with mercury rounds and blades carved from sanctified steel. The air was cold, humming with tension. Then came the sound, a laugh, low and broken, echoing from the darkness. Dario's eyes narrowed. They know we're here. Good. Let them come. The first wave struck without warning, shrieking, twisted things rushing from the dark. Silver fire erupted from the hunters' rifles, each shot exploding into burning mist as vampires fell. Luca broke from the line, his body a blur of motion, slashing through one creature's throat before spinning into another. His movements were clean, efficient, lethal. Within minutes, the basilica floor was painted in ash. The hunters pressed forward, cutting down anything that moved. The vampires kept coming, wild and desperate. Luca's strength turned the tide. Where a man would have faltered, he fought like something born for it. By the time the smoke thinned, 57 vampires were dead. The surviving hunters were bloodied, exhausted, but alive. Dario reloaded his weapon with grim precision. "That's the nest," he said, scanning the darkness. "Unless they..." The ground trembled. From the far end of the nave, 3 shadows emerged, silent, deliberate, ancient. Their presence sucked the warmth from the air. Elder vampires, centuries old. Luca felt it immediately, the weight of their power. The other hunters tensed, eyes wide. Dario's voice dropped to a whisper. "Formation. Don't break." The elders moved faster than thought. One crashed into the hunter's flank, tearing through 2 men before they could fire. The second hit Dario head-on, claws raking across his chest plate. The third blurred straight for Luca. The impact threw him back through a column, stone exploding around him. He landed hard, rolled, and came up with his blades drawn. The elder was on him again, faster, stronger. Luca met him with pure instinct, steel against claw, strength against fury. Sparks lit the air, the sound of their clash echoed like thunder. Across the room, Dario fired, driving one elder back with a burst of silver rounds. Another hunter dove from the side, stabbing through the creature's back. It shrieked, twisting violently, but Luca saw his opening. He leapt, drove his blade into its neck, and sliced clean through. The body burst apart in a flash of black mist. One down. The next elder roared, tearing through the hunters with brutal strength. Dario shouted orders, dodging a swipe that shattered stone. Luca threw himself into the fight beside him,
Together, they attacked, blades and bullets striking in rhythm, hunter and half-vampire in perfect motion. The creature clawed at Luca, drawing blood across his side. But Luca didn't stop. His eyes glinted with something colder than rage. He drove his dagger up beneath its jaw as Dario plunged a silver stake through its chest. The creature convulsed, choking on its own black blood before crumbling into ash. 2 down. The last elder hissed, his eyes flicking between them, the humans who had killed his kin. He stepped back, his form flickering, shifting into mist. "This is not over," he snarled, his voice reverberating through the ruins. Then he vanished into the darkness, leaving behind silence and the reek of death. The hunters stood motionless, smoke and dust swirling around them. The air stung with the taste of silver and blood. Dario lowered his rifle, breathing hard. "We killed 2 elders tonight," he said quietly. "That's something few hunters can say." Luca wiped his blade clean, his expression unreadable. His blood still glowed faintly beneath the skin where he'd been cut, the wound already closing. "And one escaped," he said flatly. "He'll come back." Dario met his eyes. Let him. The moon broke through the clouds then, shining pale light over the field of ashes. The dead lay quiet, but the truth settled heavy in Dario's chest. Luca's strength had turned the battle, but it had limits. Against creatures that old, he could bleed, could tire, could be broken. And that knowledge, Dario realized, was more dangerous than any enemy they had faced.
The night after the battle hung over Rome like a bruise, heavy, swollen with silence. The old monastery where they'd fought was reduced to ashes, its stones blackened by holy fire. Dario led what was left of his team back to one of the Order's safe houses, a half-buried shelter beneath the city's outskirts. The tunnels hummed faintly with the sound of running water, the kind that carried away blood and secrets alike. Luca followed last, his coat torn, his skin streaked with dried crimson that wasn't entirely his. The cuts across his ribs were already closing, skin knitting over as if time itself bent for him. He didn't speak, not yet. The echoes of the fight still rang in his bones, the roar of the elders, the weight of their power. For the first time since his turning, he had felt small. Inside, the surviving hunters dropped their weapons in silence. Some prayed, some drank, others just stared at the floor. Dario stripped off his blood-soaked gloves and glanced at Luca, his eyes unreadable. "You fought well," he said finally, voice low. "Better than most I've trained." Luca sat down against the wall, his movement slow but steady. "Not well enough." Dario frowned. 2 elders dead, 1 escaped. That's more than most could ever do. "That one could have killed us all," Luca said, staring at his hands. His fingers trembled faintly before he clenched them tight. "He didn't run because we were strong. He ran because he didn't care to finish it." Dario studied him quietly. He could see it now, the faint shimmer under his skin, the pulse that wasn't entirely human. Power radiated from him, but so did exhaustion. "You're changing," Dario said carefully. I guess the blood in you isn't done shifting." Luca's mouth tightened. "You mean I'm not stable?" "I mean you're not finished," Dario corrected. He leaned against the table, his tone level but heavy with thought. "You have strength that no human has ever had, but it's raw. You bleed, you burn, you heal, but there's a rhythm to it. You're fighting it every second." Luca's gaze lifted, faint light flickering behind his eyes. "I can control it." Dario nodded slowly. Control isn't the same as peace. The silence between them stretched. Somewhere deeper in the tunnels, water dripped, steady and rhythmic. The scent of blood still lingered from the wounded hunters being treated nearby. Luca could smell it, metallic, warm, alive. It called to something inside him. He swallowed hard, breathing through it. The thirst rose like a tide, and he forced it down again.
his eyes closed, jaw locked. For a moment, the darkness in him whispered to let go, to take what he needed. But he didn't. He wouldn't. When he opened his eyes again, Dario was watching. Not afraid, not angry, just aware. "See?" Luca muttered, half a smirk twisting his mouth. "Still human enough? Human enough to hold back, but not enough to walk away untouched." Luca looked away. "That's the price, isn't it? Strength for control. The more I fight, the harder it pushes back." Dario crossed the room, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You mastered what most men would have died resisting. That thirst, it's not gone. It never will be. But you own it. That's what matters." Luca exhaled long and steady. The tremor faded. The hunger sank back into the quiet corner of his mind where it lived, silent but awake. "I thought if I was strong enough," Luca said finally, "there'd be nothing left to fear." "There's always something to fear," Dario replied. "Even for monsters." For a while, neither of them spoke. The candles flickered against the damp walls, and the city above slept unaware of the blood that had been spilled to keep it safe. When Luca finally stood, his movements were calm again. Too calm. Dario could see it in his eyes, that silent resolve forming behind them, a resolve not to stay small. Dario spoke before he could turn away. "You did good tonight, but you also learned something." Luca looked over her shoulder. "That I'm not invincible? That none of us are." Luca nodded once, his expression hard but understanding. "Then I'll have to be more than what I am." The words hung there, cold and sure. Dario didn't argue. He just watched as Luca stepped into the narrow hall, his shadow stretching ahead like something ancient and patient, still learning to belong to the world. Behind him, the sound of dripping water continued, steady, relentless, like the heartbeat of something that refused to die. The wind moved softly through the cracked shutters, carrying the metallic scent of ash and dried blood. Rome was still half asleep, a city between sins and sunrise. Inside the hunter base, silence sat thick as smoke. The others slept in exhaustion after the battle, their weapons stacked like bones against the wall. But Luca hadn't closed his eyes once. The memory of the fight still lived behind them. The shriek of the elder vampires, the way their strength had dwarfed his own, the helpless crack of his bones when he tried to match them. He had survived, yes, but survival was not victory, not for him. He moved through the barracks without sound, his boots brushing the cold stone floor. Daria's cot was empty. The old hunter had gone to his private quarters hours ago, trusting Luca would rest. The thought drew a quiet ache from him. Dario had saved his life, trained him, believed in what he could become. But Luca had seen the truth in battle. He was half a weapon and half a curse. His thirst never left him. His power had limits. And the monster who had bitten him still walked free somewhere in the dark. He reached the armory door and paused. For a heartbeat, he thought about turning back, about waking Dario, telling him what he planned. But the thought died as quickly as it came. The hunter wouldn't let him go. He would tell him to wait, to train, to obey. But Luca's blood burned with something that refused to wait. He had to find Alessandro. He had to end what had started that night in the alley. Outside, the world was cold and colorless. A thin mist clung to the cobblestones, curling around the Gothic arches of the city like restless ghosts. Luca pulled his hood low and followed the narrow path that led to the southern wing of the compound, the Mage Division. Few ever went there without summons. The air grew colder the closer he got, humming faintly with the smell of burnt sage and silver ink. When he entered, he found only one lamp burning, its light trembling over rows of glass vials and parchment maps. A man stood beside a table of instruments, older, thin, with hands stained the color of rusted gold. It was Magister Corvi, one of the scholars who had examined Luca weeks ago. He didn't look surprised to see him. "You shouldn't be here," Corvi said quietly, not looking up from the runes he was engraving into a piece of bone. "I need to find him," Luca replied,
His voice was low, almost raw. The one who turned me. Corvy's chisel stilled. You seek her sire. The words hung between them like a sentence. There are ways, dangerous ones. I don't care, Luca said. Tell me what I have to do. Corvy studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded toward a sealed door beyond the workshop. Come, he said. If you're willing to bleed for it, I'll show you. Behind that door, the air was bicker, heavy with alchemical fumes and the faint hum of machines. A group of hunters stood there, armored in blackened steel, their eyes bright from the stimulant glow of syringe amplifiers embedded in their veins. They didn't speak as they prepared for an elder hunt. The process was ritual, precise. One mage injected each of them with silver-laced serum that made the air shiver around their skin. These were the Order's elite, men who bought seconds of superhuman strength at the cost of days of pain. Luca watched in silence. The sound of the syringes hissing into flesh made something deep in him stir. Not envy, but understanding. These men weren't blessed. They were bound by will, by desperation. They made themselves monsters to fight monsters. And that, he thought, was something he understood better than any of them. Corvy gestured for him to step forward. You want to track him, he said. You'll use your own blood. His venom lives in it still. It remembers. He set a small obsidian bowl before Luca and handed him a silver blade. You must let it out and command it. Luca hesitated only once before dragging the blade across his palm. The blood that fell was darker than human red, thick, luminous, almost alive. It hissed when it hit the bowl, spreading to the etched sigils like smoke seeking hair. Corvy murmured an incantation, and the surface began to ripple. In its reflection, Luca saw a shadow, a face he could never forget. Alessandro. The blood whispered his name, echoing faintly through the chamber. Corvy's voice dropped. He knows you seek him now. Luca didn't flinch. He wrapped his hand, lifted his hood, and turned toward the exit. Good, he said. His voice was calm, almost cold. Let him wait. As he stepped into the dying night, the first light of dawn broke over the rooftops. And for the first time since his turning, Luca felt something close to purpose. Not peace, not hope, but something sharp enough to keep him moving.
The road out of Rome bled into wilderness long before dawn gave up the sky. Luca moved through it like a ghost, guided by the pulse in his veins. The blood ritual had tied him to Alessandro, pulling him north through the forests and crumbling estates that bordered the city. Every step drew the thirst deeper into him, a whisper he couldn't silence, the venom in his body recognizing the source that had birthed it. He walked until the trees thinned and the ruins appeared ahead, jagged against the pale moonlight. The cathedral stood at the edge of a forgotten village, half swallowed by ivy and time. Its spire leaned like a broken fang, bells long silent. Inside, candles flickered against walls painted with faded saints, their faces eroded into sorrow. Luca stepped across the threshold, every sense on edge. The air was still, too still, as if the world itself was holding its breath. A voice broke the silence. You've grown, it said, calm and almost amused. I wondered when you would come. Alessandro sat upon the remnants of the altar, his posture elegant, his presence suffocating. He hadn't changed, the same pale grace, the same eyes like burning glass. Only the centuries in them betrayed the monster beneath the man. Luca's hands tightened around his blade. I came to kill you, he said. Alessandro smiled faintly. They always say that. He rose, slow and deliberate. Do you even know why you survived me, ragazzo? Do you understand what you are? Luca didn't answer. He lunged. Steel met shadow. The sound of their clash filled the cathedral. Sharp, echoing, cruel. Luca's speed was blinding, his strength far beyond human, but Alessandro moved like a memory. Untouchable, effortless. Each blow Luca struck was deflected, each strike turned aside, and yet he didn't stop. Blood splattered the stone floor, half his Sire's. The air trembled with the force of their fury. "Impressive," he breathed, parrying a vicious swing that cracked the altar in two. "You fight like you still think you can be saved." Luca's eyes burned red. "I don't need saving." The elder struck faster than sight, his hand closing around Luca's throat. The impact sent cracks spidering through the wall behind him. "You are not ready," Alessandro said softly, "but you could be." He let go, and Luca crumpled to one knee, coughing blood. Even broken, he tried to stand, his body trembling with effort. Alessandro watched him, expression unreadable. "You don't even know what you have become. A creature the world has no name for. You should be dead, yet you endure. That is power, Luca, and I can make it whole." Luca lifted his head, his gaze full of fury. "I'll never be your creation." A long silence followed. Then Alessandro sighed, almost regretful. "No," he said, "you already are." He moved again, a blur of darkness, and the fight ended as swiftly as it began. The blade fell from Luca's hand, skittering across the floor. He hit the ground hard, vision blurring, his blood pooling beneath him. Alessandro stood over him, quiet now, the predator's hunger replaced by something else, curiosity, perhaps even respect. "I should end you," he murmured, kneeling beside him, "but I think I'd rather see what you become when you finally stop pretending you're still human." The world dimmed as Alessandro's shadow covered him. He felt the bite of cold fingers at his neck, not a killing touch, but a claim. When the hunters reached the ruins hours later, the candles were still burning, the altar was cracked, the air thick with ash and silence. Only one trace remained, blood smeared into a single mark on the floor, the shape of a wing, drawn in red. Dario stared at it for a long time before he spoke. "He's alive," he said, quietly. But even as he said it, he knew. Whatever Luca had become, the boy he once saved was gone.
Luca survived the bite, mastered the hunger, and faced his sire. But what he has become, no one truly understands. A half-blood, a paradox, a weapon shaped by both curse and choice. This is only the beginning. If you want to see what happens when darkness fights for the soul, make sure to like, comment your theories on what Luca will do next, and share this with someone who loves a good vampire story. And don't forget to subscribe. You won't want to miss the next chapter of The Vampire's Curse.